The biggest threat to a better city is the car. Traffic, noise, pollution, all conspiring to make life in some cities unbearable. Just get a look at the streets of Shanghai.
And it's getting worse as more people buy cars in developing countries like China. The current rate of growth is not sustainable. It will transform the world's cities into smog and traffic-choked urban nightmares. But at the SAIC GM Pavilion, the future is not a nightmare. The future is a zero-emissions utopian dream you can experience yourself. The SAIC GM Pavilion is located on the western part of the expo. SAIC is GM's partner in China. Here's what it looked like under construction. The pavilion is 6,000 square meters. Its show-stopping feature is a round movie theater with motion seats. The pavilion's theme is Drive to 2030. Inside, you'll be transported to the year 2030 with a movie you have to buckle up to see. A few days before the pavilion opens, the director of its multimedia extravaganza is rehearsing his show. He gives us a rare behind-the-scenes look at his work in progress. Because it's just a rehearsal, the dancers are not yet in costume. Even so, they have their steps down. But the real stars of the show are the cars. That big old car you're driving around right now? Forget about it. The vehicle of the future is not even going to be called a car. It's a personal mobility device. This is GM's NV concept vehicle. NV stands for Electric Networked Vehicle. It's powered by 2 electric motors, one in each of its driving wheels. They take up just 1/3 of the footprint of today's cars. This bizarre buggy is called the Yez. If you think it looks like a leaf, it's intentional because in Chinese, Yezi means leaf. The roof absorbs solar energy. Spinning rotors on the wheels generate power from the wind. According to GM, electric vehicles like these are only half the solution to city traffic problems. The other half is city infrastructure itself.
The real differentiator that we think that GM has a technology leadership in the area of is really connectivity, which is communication between vehicle, and also communication between vehicle and infrastructure. The infrastructure means, the road infrastructure and also the energy infrastructure. So that really allows our vehicles to be a lot more intelligent, and then almost has, a kind of a human brain type of capability to sense what's around and to think what it needs to do, and then to act based on, its thinking process.
In other words, the streets of the future will be smart. Your vehicle and the road will communicate like a computer and network. The smart streets will talk to your car and everyone else's. The whole network is so smart that you'll be able to switch your car to autonomous driving mode. You can hand over control and work, sleep, or text at will.
What happens to mom in the minivan?
Well, all the soccer moms do not need to worry about that anymore, because if the vehicles can drive on their own in the future, then all those little kids, the vehicles itself will be intelligent enough to take the kids to the school, drop them off to the soccer practice, and then that's another level of personal mobility.
The future infrastructure could even move traffic to give emergency vehicles priority. It's a grand vision, but will it be real?
We heard about, the George Jetson cars, of the future back in the 50s. We were thinking about flying cars and we still didn't get there. Are you concerned at all that maybe this might be pie in the sky and that we might not be able to reach that by 2030?
One of the reasons that we defined the whole theme at year 2030 is this is the time frame that if everybody start to act now, not only from the automotive industry, but also from the government, the urban planners, and the other industries, this is the time it will take to change the infrastructure for the entire society. And just as an example, one of the inspirations that we had for this project actually was from the 1939 New York Expo. During that expo, GM, for the first time, presented this whole concept, this whole notion of superhighway. 15 years later, the first highway appeared, and 20 years later, the entire highway system connected West Coast with the East Coast, and it totally changed, the life and the whole society.
Woohoo! So you're sold on one of these personal mobility devices before you trade in your gas-guzzling SUV. Unfortunately, delivery isn't expected until 2030. The real question here is, can we all afford to wait that long? It's empty right now, but it sure won't be for long. We're on the elevated walkway that runs the course of the expo. Think of it as a sort of pedestrian superhighway. Take a look over here. That is the country of Russia. And then just across the street, that's Canada. In fact, you could walk the world in under an hour. Here we are at one of the main entrances, and if I can coin an old real estate expression, the three most important things: location, location, location. And here at the Shanghai World Expo, as you can see behind me, the USA Pavilion has a prime location. The Chinese gave the US Pavilion a place of prominence.
This area really does anchor what's called Zone 3, which is from North America all the way through to Latin America. And this part of the expo is at the end of a 2-mile stretch of the national pavilions, the top of which is anchored by the China Pavilion. Right. So you really do have a visual sense, if you could take an aerial photo, that in some sense the US and China are anchoring the world. And it's just a fantastic sight.
Right now, it's hard to imagine the World Expo without the USA Pavilion. After all, the World Expo is like the Olympics of culture. Every major nation in the world is here, even relatively smaller countries like Kazakhstan.
Chances are everything you know about the country of Kazakhstan comes from the movie Borat. Well, Kazakhstan is here at the World Expo. Like every other country, their objective is to nation brand and hopefully educate the public about the real Kazakhstan, Cuba. There are countries represented here from all around the world, both big and small. Why, there's Cuba.
But just over a year ago, America's presence at this world event was in doubt. Why? Financing. The USA Pavilion's theme is Rise to the Challenge, but finding over $60 million to build the pavilion proved to be its own challenge. Unlike other countries, the U.S. federal government does not fund its pavilion. In fact, the United States was a no-show at the 2000 World Expo in Hanover, Germany. If the U.S. was going to be in Shanghai in 2010, it would require a team that was up to the task.
You did it.
We did it. We rose to the challenge.
It's not by accident that you had that theme, right?
At first, it was a more abstract theme. But as it turned out, we had to rise to a very, very big challenge, which was, could we galvanize enough support within the U.S. government and within the business community?
After a strong push from Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, the support from mostly corporate sources came in at the last possible moment, after every other nation had already broken ground.
We broke ground later than any other pavilion.
After breaking ground in June 2009, it was a race against time to be ready for the world less than a year later. The USA Pavilion is over 64,000 square feet. The steel structure is meant to convey an eagle, stretching its wings in welcome.
By the time you're watching this, the World Expo will be well underway, but right now we're less than 48 hours from the grand opening. We're here in front of the USA Pavilion, and the theme here is Rise to the Challenge. Let's see if they can.
When you first step inside, you experience an area known as Overture.
A presentation would happen in here, which we call Welcome to America. And we actually went across America and asked people from all walks of life to do their best job at saying welcome in Mandarin. Look right into the camera.
Welcome to America, scene 1, take 3, mark.
欢迎光临美国馆。
你好。
你好。
好。
你们好。希望你们喜欢这场表演。
Good.
Thank you.
The Overture area leads to a sequence of theaters, each of which tells one act of a very special American story. In Theater 1, people see the spirit of America.
You, on behalf of the American people, to the USA Pavilion at Expo 2010.
It's about partnerships because we can't work independently and reach the biggest solution.
We are bound by our common humanity and our shared curiosity. This includes the hopes we share with the people of China and the people around the world to work together to realize a healthy, sustainable, and prosperous future.
In Theater 2, a film called The Garden tells the story of a young girl who turns a vacant lot into an urban garden.
You're using cinema to tell that story. Why did you choose that path?
The way to have an emotional impact and to leave people with a strong memory, but also get them thinking, is to tell a story.
If the theater benches look a little Spartan, it's because they're designed to fit as many people as possible.
I think people will come away with what we call an emotional souvenir. I think that they will really understand what we're trying to say, and that was the reason we got involved with this project from the very beginning, is that we wanted to take this opportunity to directly communicate who we are, our values, how we do things in a way to people that they felt a sort of refreshing grasp of America.
An estimated 6 million Chinese people will experience the American Pavilion at the Expo. And on day 1 of the Expo, they're already lining up in droves.
But there will be millions of Chinese that will never get to travel to the United States. So this really is their experience.
Yes.
What's the one takeaway you think they're going to come away with after having gone through the USA Pavilion?
I do hope that what they come away with is, I would really love to visit America someday, or I would really love to go to school in America someday.
As some of the first-paying Expo goers exit, let's see what they think of their emotional souvenir.
What did you think? What did you make of the experience?
Oh, we loved it.
Did you? Are you from the States?
Yes, we live in Connecticut. The shows were fantastic.
They were.
So I think it was very well done. It really spoke about what Americans, I feel Americans are.
So do you feel
community-oriented and giving from your heart? And
so
that second show, incredible.
Did it make you cry?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
So whatever part of the Rise to the Challenge theme visitors here take away, few will ever realize how much the USA Pavilion had to rise to its own challenge just to be here.